Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Saturday. How's everybody's weekend going? Hopefully everybody's having a chill weekend, relaxed weekend. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Make sure you all hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share this channel out with everybody you know. I would greatly appreciate it. I got my boy Rob from the Pinstripe Chronicles Podcast. Make sure you go check out their channel. Let's continue supporting their channel as always, like the way you all support this channel. They do really good stuff over there. So shout out to my guy Rob for taking the time to come out to talk a little Yankee prospects. Wanted to do something a little different from the norm. So I know I've had Rob on here quite a few times to talk some prospects, and it's always a great time having you on. But Rob, man, thanks for coming on. How you feeling today?
Oh, thanks for having me, man. I'm good. I'm feeling good after that Yankee win last night, man. It's good that we're talking prospects because our former top prospect just came through in a big way yesterday. So shout out to the Martian, 3 homers, hitting that grand slam. Shout out to Will Warren for having his best start of his career. Shout out to the chat and even you, Brad, for getting people to roast NFE before we went live. That's partially my fault. We were catching up. It's been a little while since NFE and I have caught up. So Brad's being Brad as usual.
Well, I was late on purpose just so I could get a reaction on him, and it works every time. So, so you're welcome, Brad. Thank you for making my day. But real quick, and we'll talk about last night's game briefly because I know you talked about the prospects, especially with Dominguez and Warren, that stepped up big time, right? But let me say what's up to the chat. We got Desiree and Furnace. What is up? We got Susan. We got Brad. Who else we got in the chat? I feel like I saw some other folks here. Jacob Frederick is in the building. This is our Guardians friend. He's a big Guardians fan. So cool guy, though. Cool guy. And we got Jonathan in the chat. Shout out to all you guys and gals in the chat. Thank you for for tuning in. And yeah, Brad, I take all the blame. You know what? I don't care if I'm late. I'm late on purpose just so I could get a reaction on you, and it works every time. So good job there, buddy. But anyway, man. Yeah, with Dominguez, Warren, I mean, couple of Yankee prospects. Well, we're Yankee prospects, coming through. What do you think of some of these young guys? Just to start off with them, and then also let's talk about Ben Rice too, who's been hitting the ball really well. Like, what are you making of these guys? How do you feel about it, man?
It's good to see because there was a lot of uncertainty coming into the season, like with Stanton being hurt, who's going to step up and give the Yankees some power aside from Aaron Judge. And obviously we've seen some veterans stepping up like Grisham and Paul Goldschmidt, but to see Ben Rice hitting the ball the way he is, Austin Wells has been kind of on and off, but Dominguez just showing that pop last night. Getting the production from the younger bats has been very important because if the team wants to be good for a long time, you need a lot of these guys to step up. So you got Ben Rice. Hopefully Anthony Volpe can be consistent this year. Austin Wells, Jason Dominguez, and there's going to be others that come up through the pipeline as well. But the Yankees lineup is a lot younger right now than it has been in previous years. So it's been a pretty much been a team effort watching this lineup kind of come through. Cabrera's been on and off. Peraza, Vivas had a couple of hits last night, but he just got called up recently, so can't really put too much on him. But
manage expectations,
right? Yeah. But if we didn't have some of these guys, even with kind of the ups and downs they've had, just about 40 games in, the Yankees may not be in this spot. So they needed some help for Aaron Judge, and they've gotten it from a lot of these younger players. And I mean, to see that game from Dominguez last night was huge because there was so much unnecessary talk, right, on social media over the last week. Certain burner pages saying that he was a platoon player. There were certain fan pages saying he stunk, and now they're trying to not bring that up anymore. They're trying to walk back on their comments, and it's still too early to make a real assumption about Jason Dominguez because he's barely had 100 at-bats. And yesterday really showed you what he can be because we saw a glimpse of that in 2023, and he never really got the shot to do that last year. And even this year, he's been kind of on and off. So Rodney already given you a membership. That's pretty impressive. Shout out to Rodney.
Oh, Rodney, my man. Yeah, Rodney's one of the most generous folks that you'll talk to and meet. And shout out to my guy, Rodney, for the membership. It looks like Mick MacArthur is the recipient of that membership. Ronnie, you are the man, bro. I appreciate you. I'll just give you a round of applause. Usually I'll play a little soundboard thing, but I'll just give it to you right here, man. My man, thank you so much for the Strike Zone membership, and congratulations to, who was it? I said Mick MacArthur. And, we got another one. My man coming through once again with another membership. Tiffany Johnson is the recipient of that one. You're the man, bro. You are the man. Thank you, Ronnie. You are the man. Big time Yankees fan, this guy, let me tell you. So thank you for the 2 memberships, man. So thank you so much. You are the man, bro. Greatly appreciated as always. So yeah, there's not much I can say. Like, the gift of memberships are always appreciated from the subscribers. So shout out to you, my man. I know I'm still a bum. I've accepted that a long time ago. So my life is pretty simplified now, Ronnie, but thank you.
Goes from giving some money to calling you a bum in like a matter of 2 seconds.
Yeah. Oh, we got a few folks. Ronnie, Bill, Doran. I saw TC Steels or FJ. I saw a few of you in the chat. So thank you all for tuning in. So greatly appreciate it. We got a pretty good crowd. But yeah, Dominguez, look, man, I kept saying it in the offseason. I'm managing my expectations because we haven't really seen true who like the real Dominguez is yet, right? We know what he did in the minors, but what is he going to do at the major league level? Like that was my question. You know, I don't want to set the bar super high, kind of like what they did with Volpe, right? I've talked about that a million times. Like, you know, we got to like manage expectations, stop setting the bar so high, because then if they don't perform up to what we expect them to or what we want them to, then we're just going to be like, failed prospect, send him back down. Trade him. He's a wash. You know, this guy stinks. But, you know, I liked what I saw from Dominguez. I mean, is he going to hit 3 home runs every time? No. I feel like there's going to be games where he's going to struggle. After all, he is a rookie, right? So, you know, we gotta see how else he progresses this season. And like TC mentioned, Will Warren. Yeah, Will Warren freaking pitched a gem yesterday. I was wondering how he was going to do yesterday, but 7 1/3, 7 strikeouts, only gave up the 1 run. You know, what's your take on Will Warren, man? Like, I know Will Warren gets a lot of criticism. Like, what is your take on him? Once again, he's a rookie, so I mean, there's going to be growing pains, right? So, what's your take on Will Warren?
He's so confusing to me because his stuff. I still think he throws too many pitches. I've been saying this for the last couple of years on your show, on my show. That's just been my take on other shows as well. I think he throws maybe 1 or 2 too many pitches, but his sweeper is really good. His changeup is really good, and he's got a fastball that can get it up there to about 95 plus. So I think he needs to limit his arsenal, and we kind of saw that yesterday. That was his best start, obviously, of his career, and he needed it because he's kind of been, I don't want to say terrible, but he's been on the downward trajectory to start the season. He's had a couple of decent starts, but yesterday was just his best start that he's had since being a major leaguer. Last year, he didn't have many good ones at all, even in the minors. This year, he had a great start to a spring, and then he kind of slowed down. That carried over. And for him to go, was it 7 1/3, I think, in total?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was brilliant. I know people are going to say, oh, it's the Athletics, but hey, the Athletics are playing decent baseball this year. So
they actually have a decent team.
Yeah, they're over 500. And had he struggled, people would have said, oh, this guy stinks, needs to get sent back down. So I think you got to take any good start you can out of him. And this was obviously his best pitch. So his best pitch game. Mm-hmm. I think it was great. And hopefully it's a sign of things to come for him. We don't need him to be a 7 inning per start guy. It would be great if he was, but if he can just go to being 5 innings or more like a Clark Schmidt type, that would be beautiful because the Yankees really need it. We can't keep relying on just Fried and Rodon to carry this rotation. They need the other 3 guys, whoever the 5th man's going to be at this point. They need Warren to just be solid. He doesn't have to be Luis Heel from last year. He doesn't have to be Garrett Cole, obviously. He just needs to be solid and keep you in ball games. Last night was a hell of a start, and hopefully one that gets him on the right track to what we saw earlier in the spring, that we were saying this guy should make the team. And I just hope it's the sign of good things to come. I'm not expecting that every start, because then that would just completely overlook everything you just said about managing expectations. But if he can be more like that guy, the Yankees are going to win a lot more games, and he's going to build his stock and hopefully have a spot in the rotation for years to come. I think this could be the start of something special for him. Which obviously we need more of a scope for that, more of a broader scope. But it's better than what has been. What his last 4 or 5 starts have not been good at all. So I'll obviously take that every single day of the week. That was brilliant.
Yeah, like just from the eye test, from what I noticed with Warren, like he'll start off well, but then I feel like the other teams eventually they figure it out with him. And again, he's a rookie pitcher. Now, as far as the pitching itself goes, I maybe, again, if I'm wrong, let me know. But I feel like they're having him throw his fastball more instead of his sweeper and his changeup, because I feel like a lot of his pitches that he's been throwing as of late in his starts, it's been the fastball, which I understand, I get it, but I would like to see more of his the sweeper, the changeup, because that changeup that he throws is pretty filthy. Are you seeing the same thing there, or am I off on this?
Believe it or not, his fastball has actually been decent this year. It's his breaking stuff that's been pretty rough. So he's needed to work on that. And you saw that with the sweeper last night. Mm-hmm. And the changeup has always been one of his better pitches. So I think you kind of just you got to go with what your best stuff is. We knew going into the season, like he's got 5 or 6 pitches that he can throw, but that doesn't usually mean you're going to be successful with all of those pitches when you get to the major league level. Mm-hmm. So that's why I think you really need to limit his arsenal to his 3 or 4 best pitches, and that could really make him a much more effective major leaguer. So yesterday you saw a lot of the changeup, you saw a lot of the sweeper, and obviously that fastball, when he throws it, he's getting swing and miss stuff, and that's been kind of going throughout his entire season. Is even when he's been struggling, he got 8 strikeouts in his start against Tampa Bay. So even though he wasn't great, you saw the signs of there's something there. You don't get 8 strikeouts and it's not by accident. It wasn't like they were just swinging at absolutely terrible pitches all night. You got to have good movement. He's got a good, I'm looking at a Savant page right now. He's got a good K percentage. He's got a good whiff percentage. They're all above average, but everything else is below average. Like he's giving up hard hits. They're actually not chasing a lot, even though he's getting whiffs. They're not chasing a lot. So he's starting to throw the curve a little bit less. And this year, he's kind of been using 4 pitches. And we've seen that sinker, 4-seamer, sweeper, and the changeup. So he's kind of gone away from the curveball, which now he's limiting his arsenal to 4 pitches instead of 5 or 6, which is supposed to, and it should help him moving forward.
Yeah, and Bill is saying he didn't throw a changeup yesterday. He threw a 2-seam fastball, 4-seam fastball, and the sweeper, he said.
Yeah, he's mixing that fastball up.
Yeah, that fastball, though, I will say, because it hits about 94, 95. He does really do a good job of finding that strike zone. You know what I mean, with that fastball. So it looks like he's been finding great success with it. And Warren, he does show that he does have potential, I think, and I like Will Warren. I hope things work out for him. I really do. And I think in the future, if things go exactly as planned, if things go well for him, I think he's easily like a number 3, number 4 guy in the rotation.
Yeah, that's probably his ceiling.
Yeah,
like middle to the back end of the rotation. I mean, if he pitches like this, that's like number 2, number 3 type stuff. So again, it's one start, but certainly better than the alternative, which has been him going 4 and getting pulled after giving up 4 or 5 runs a game. So whatever he did last night, whether it was a changeup or a 2-seamer, keep doing it because it worked. And had he struggled against an athletics team that people are still kind of wondering if they're for real or not, it would have been a telltale sign to probably send him down. So,
I mean, after all, I know it's the Athletics. I know people say, oh, it's against the Athletics, but once again, the Athletics, they don't have a bad team. And it's just like they could have very well taken full advantage of him. Once again, he's a rookie pitcher. So, teams will jump on that. So, but last night he had some great success. So I'm happy for him. Like I said, I hope things continue working out for him. In the following starts in the near future too, because I do like Will Warren. I never, some people were just like, oh, this guy was supposed to be an ace. I was like, nobody said he was an ace. Like I've never heard that from anybody, from like anybody that scouted him. Never heard it from you either. So, I think Warren, like I said, I think at best he's probably like a number 3, number 4 guy, which, that's fine by me. You're not going to have aces and not every pitcher is going to be an ace in the rotation, which is fine. But, you only need 1 or 2. But let's talk about some of these other prospects, man. I mean, let's talk about the most obvious name who got promoted to Double-A Somerset, which congratulations to him. 19 years old, George Lombard Jr. I saw him in spring training, and shout out to Dev. What's up, man? He says what up to us. He's been a member for a year now, so shout out to Dev. Yeah,
boy, Dev.
He's been big supporter of all the channels. Dev is awesome. But George Lombard Jr. I got to see him play during spring training. I freaking loved what I saw from him, man. I wasn't, it's not like I was like, oh, they need to call him up, but I was like, this guy has a lot of upside. He's good with the bat. He's good with the, he's good with the glove. He's hungry. He's hungry. He plays his heart out. He got promoted to Double-A. I felt like at some point he was going to get promoted. I didn't think it was going to be this early. What are your thoughts on him getting promoted? Do you think that the promotion, like he was due for a promotion, or do you think the organization should have continued waiting? And let me know how you feel about George Lombard Jr., because I know you're definitely a big fan.
Hey, thank you, Rodney. I think the biggest thing was how far he jumped in the top 100 for Baseball America. He went from 88th to 23rd, I think.
Whoa.
That's a massive leap in the top 100. So you don't see that very often. Mm-hmm. He was killing it in single A. He was hitting around over 300. He had an OPS over 980. He only had a home run, but he had 13 ribbies, I believe. He was killing it, and I think it's much deserved. The Yankees clearly feel like he is the future, whether that be at second or third. Obviously, I don't think he's going to move Volpe off a shortstop. But moving forward, they're going to need a third baseman or a second baseman. I don't know what's going to happen with Jazz. I know he's under contract, but there's the injury concerns and currently playing second base, and they really don't have a third baseman still. So there's still a ways to go for that. But the fact that he's been playing some second base, he's been playing some third base is only a good thing. And he can play shortstop, and he can play them all well. He runs the bases hard. He's got pop. We saw that in the spring. The Yankees are very high on him. Baseball's very high on him for obvious reasons. There's a reason he jumped up from 88 to 23 because Baseball America sees something in this kid, and the Yankees needed someone to rise like that. And I think you're going to see a lot of other prospects start to make their presence felt on those top 100 lists because the Yankees farm system went from being like a top 10 last year to now they're like the bottom of the league. Bottom half of the league. So in order to get back to that top 15, top 10 status, you need a Lombard to jump up into the top 25. You need guys like Cam Schlittler to make their presence felt. Carlos Legrand. A lot of these pitchers you're going to start to hear about sooner than later. And Lombard taking that big of a leap, and obviously Spencer Jones is someone we'll get to as well today.
Oh, yeah.
But it really tells you how the Yankees view him. I think there was always going to be a conversation who kind of takes over quicker. Would it be him or Arias? And I think Lombard has taken it and ran away with it to this point. Arias has gotten off to a bit of a slow start, and I think he's in low A ball right now in Tampa, but Lombard just got off to a hot start, starting with spring training, and then his numbers in single A in Hudson Valley were through the roof. So much deserved. The Yankees love him. The fans love him. I mean, there were fans calling for him to be the third baseman on opening day this year. So, I mean, the expectations are already kind of high. But he's done everything they've asked him to do, and it's up to him now. It's up to him to keep going at this current. If he keeps up like this, he'll be the third baseman next year. That's how I view it. If this keeps up, I don't see how he can't, and he has another spring like he did. That's Anthony Volpe, like the very limited time in the minors, but you force your way onto the team. It helps the Yankees out because they don't want to spend money, and it puts himself on the map earlier than expected. He's got the tools to do it. He was a steal in the draft. The Yankees thought he was going to go to college, or actually all of baseball thought he was going to go to college. He didn't. The Yankees got him. He probably would have been a higher pick had he said he wasn't going to college. The Yankees felt like he was a steal. So far, he's looking like it. At some point, Doran, maybe. But I think he might not even need it. You know?
Really?
Volpe didn't really spend too much time in AAA. We always hear about it, how AA is more where you want to see guys succeed because that's where the top talent is in AA. Sometimes you really don't need to play that much in AAA. So,
yeah, well, okay, because you said that you wouldn't be surprised if he's the starting third baseman next year if he keeps going the way he's going. But wouldn't that be kind of rushing him through the minor league system, through the process? I mean, I would hate for a player to be rushed, like a guy like Lombard Jr., who's a good player. I mean, he's phenomenal. I love the guy, but I just, what my worry with that though is kind of like the whole thing with Volpe, right? I feel like they kind of brought him up a little too soon. And I at the time, I don't think it was Volpe's position to take. I felt like that, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole here, but I feel like it should have been given to Peraza. You don't think that if, like, let's just say he is on the roster next year for third base, if you're making this prediction about him, you don't think it's too soon?
Well, it's if this keeps up for him. Like, if he struggles, then
sure.
Obviously you make sure he's good to go. But if he comes into AA and he's only been there for like a week now, but I think he had his first multi-hit game last night. Mm-hmm. But if he starts hitting at a high clip and for the entire season in AA, he's hitting and he's stealing bases, he's playing good defense, and then he comes into next spring and puts up numbers like that again, it's hard to say the Yankees won't promote him to the major league level because we've already seen them have a reluctance to spend money for the last couple of years, and they've needed a third baseman for 2 seasons now, and they haven't done it. They haven't gotten one because they feel like Lombard can play there. And the reason why I say that, Lou, is because Volpe ain't moving from shortstop. And Lombard can play third. He's got a really good arm. He can play third base. He can play second. So I think would it be early? Absolutely. Earlier than expected. But we also talk about wanting to play the top guys. I mean, if he keeps, and again, if this keeps up, if he struggles, then obviously you let him stay in the minors and make sure he's good to go when he's ready. But if he has a full season basically in AA where he's killing the ball, and then even if they promote him for like a month in AAA and he's hitting there, do we really need to see more before we be like, all right, let's get him going now? I mean, I think you're going to see a lot more players younger and younger getting less time in the minor leagues, and they're going to start to get called up sooner than later. I mean, the Red Sox called up Christian Campbell very early on, and I don't think they're regretting that decision. So I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying if he keeps up at this pace, I would not be surprised because they still don't have a third baseman after all this time. And it would help them out because they don't want to spend the money. I think they'd rather spend that money on pitching, honestly. And if Lombard is going to keep up like this, that solves their third base need and they can go internal with the bats.
Yeah. And real quick, just a couple of other people in the chat. Jake Boss is in the chat. Ken is in the chat. What's up there, gentlemen? How we doing? Yeah, with Lombard Jr., again, I know, like you said, the Yankees don't want to spend money. And they're going to have money. They're going to have money come off the books after this season, and then after a couple of years, they're going to even have more money coming off the books. And we know that Hal is trying to cut down on payroll. He's trying to get below that threshold. He's been trying for a long time, but it's just he just couldn't because of the team's needs. But I think if, like you said, if Lombard Jr. continues performing at this rate, I don't, let's see what he does at AA, because it's going to be, now this is where you still need to step up your game. right? He could, if he keeps going the way he's going, which I hope he does. I didn't think it didn't cross my mind. Honestly, it didn't cross my mind about him being being the next third baseman going into 2026. If I had to predict, I think you give him one more year in the minors, then maybe 2027 season. I think you call him up, you get him at third base. I mean, Volpe will be your shortstop, second base. I mean, who knows? I think they're going to keep Jazz right now until Jazz's contract expires, and then they'll explore second base. So the Yankees are in a very, very interesting position right now. I think this is the most interesting position that they've been in a very long time, because they finally have some guys in their farm that have so much potential. Where I didn't see this for a long time with these guys, because I know in the past they've done a bad job. They didn't do such a great job of scouting players and developing players. And we talked about, there's been players that we have mentioned that, we thought were going to work out, the baby bombers and all this, and just didn't really pan out the way, they had hoped. But I think this time around, I think it's a different story. I think these guys that are coming up right now, are have so much potential, right? I'm excited to see what Lombard Jr. does. And as far as you brought up Arias real quick, do the Yankees still view him as a potential part of the piece of the as a potential piece of the organization, or like what I know he's off to a slow start. I know he doesn't have the I know he doesn't have the ceiling that Lombard Jr. has, clearly, but what's up with Arias? Like, how do you feel about him? Do you think there's a future, or do you think the Yankees use him in a trade piece in the future if need be? Like, what are your thoughts on Roderick Arias?
I mean, ideally, he steps it up sooner than later and follows a similar path that Lombard is currently on. But yeah, he is off to a really slow start so far. He's hitting like 150, something like that. The numbers are not there so far. It's still very early in the single A season. But I mean, he's probably the best shortstop in the system if we're talking about the defense. His arm is ridiculous. So that's a guy that, if he does follow a Lombard-like path, if he starts to start hitting and his defense will always be good. We know the bat's there. It's just he hasn't been able to put it together yet. But he would be the guy that I think would move Volpe off a shortstop before Lombard would. That's how good of a shortstop he is. Yeah, he's ridiculously good at shortstop. But so far, he hasn't really gotten it done. He's had a little bit of an injury. I think last year he was dealing with some stuff, but overall the numbers were not bad. But this year, bit of a slow start. He's got a OPS below 600. Hasn't really shown the pop yet early, but this is a guy that, if it all gets put together, he could be a potential part of the future. Or because the Yankees have 100 other shortstop in their system, including Lombard and guys like Vargas, who's in AAA right now, AA, AAA, maybe they use him as a trade piece. Maybe a team views him as someone they can utilize in the future if the Yankees just don't have a spot for him. But there's still a good couple of, like Doran's saying, couple of years away. He's got to figure some stuff out. For right now, his stock has dropped a little bit and Lombard's gone up. Lombard has risen quickly up the rankings, while Arias, who was kind of like neck and neck, like who was going to take over that spot as the top dog in the system, Arias has fallen behind a little bit because of his slow start. Had he had the start Lombard was having in single A, Lombard was in Hudson Valley and Arias is still in Tampa. Maybe if they started at the same level and they were hitting the same way, we could have more of a conversation. But currently, Arias his stock has dropped a little bit because of the slow start. But it's only like, I think he's played like 18 games, so it's not enough to say, oh, he's going to be a complete and total bust. It's just so far he's off to a slow start. But he had a slow start last year as well, so I'm not going to look too deep into it.
Yeah, well, there's always a lot of talk of Lombard Jr. and Arias coming up together and playing together on the same team, which in the future, right? And I was that got me excited because I know there was a high ceiling for Arias, but Lombard Jr. he just took over, I feel like, and I feel like he's just running away with it right now. like I said, from what I saw in spring training from Lombard Jr., I knew he wasn't going to be on the major league roster, but I'm just like, this guy is really good. He's got a lot of potential. He's got what it takes. He certainly has what it takes. It's just, you still have to, once again, give him time. And it looks like I got a guy, Russ Morgan from Twitter, actually. But before I get to his comment, shout out to Ronnie for the $5 super chat. My man, thank you so much. Says, got to run, grab some food and meds. We'll be back for a gum bumping game calling. Don't have a coronary, my guy. I go nuts over the home runs and strikeouts. So, I don't know if you've seen that, but hey, I gotta entertain the crowd somehow. But I wanted to get to this comment right here from Russ. He's joining us from X, which shout out to you, man. He says, how Rock Reggio planning scouting him in high school at Thousand Oaks High School in California with Max Muncy, too. Saw at area coach games, stole about 6 bags in 2 games and stole home. So, Rock Reggio.
Yeah,
I've heard a lot of good things about him.
He's off to a slow start as well, kind of like Arias is, but he's in high A right now, where Arias is still in the low A ball. I don't know what his future would be here. Again, this kind of goes to the earlier conversation of having so many infielders. He's one of them that is kind of high. Yeah, he does, Russ. He's a guy that plays with some fire. He's like, what is he, like 5'8", 5'9"? He's a shorter dude. He kind of reminds me of Durbin in terms of his height. He's a smaller guy, but he runs like hell. He can play good defense. The bat has been there previously. It's just kind of off to a slow start. I'm going to look up his numbers now. Yeah, only 1 home run, but again, 17 at-bats this year. So we're not going to look too far into that. He's a lefty. He's 22 years old. There's still, again, there's a ceiling for a lot of these players. It's just that you look at some numbers with slow starts and things like that, it's hard to really say like, oh, give it another month and he'll be on fire. You haven't really seen the turnaround yet, but I mean, hey, if they want to try him there,
yeah,
if they want to try him there, that's fine. But they always draft infielders. They like to sign a bunch of infielders in the international market. So Reggio's a guy that I like. I've been trying to figure out for the last couple of years now where he would fit if he got called up. I feel like a couple of these names will end up being trade chips because they just don't have enough spots for them. If Volpe's the shortstop, or even if Arias took over, you got to wonder where these guys are going to play. There's only three infield spots, assuming that Ben Rice gets first base moving forward after this year. If they sign somebody, you still got Jazz for a year, and really there's only 1 spot open. And then after Jazz is gone, there's only 1 more spot open. So how many infielders can you really play? I don't know where Reggio would fit. So far off to a bit of a slow start, but I do like his game. Like Russ said, he plays with, like, his hair is on fire. He runs like hell.
Mm-hmm. What up, SGA and Jonathan, dropping some news about Yoandry Gomez, White Sox claiming him, and they released Greg Jones. So shout out to Yoandry Gomez. That's interesting. Yeah, I know, right? But let's, so we talked about a couple of the guys on the roster. We talked about Lombard Jr., Arias. We got to talk about Spencer Jones. He's another obvious name, right? He's a name that's constantly talked about. I know he's hurt right now. What is his injury, real quick? I wasn't sure what his injury was. Did they say?
I just saw that they put him on the IL, but it was retroactive to the last he played. So I'm not 100% sure what his injury was, because there was a lot of people thought he actually had gotten promoted to AAA when Lombard got promoted. That's really what I was thinking, because he wasn't in the lineup for a couple of days.
Yeah, Ken is saying stiff neck, actually.
Stiff neck, okay. So really, it shouldn't be anything serious. I like Spencer Jones. I don't think he'll ever really get that strikeout rate to a number that people are comfortable with. However, if he's hitting 30 home runs a season, like he's already got 9 on the year, he's getting on base at a high clip. He's got like a 3 370, 360, something like that on base. 920 OPS. I mean, are you really going to care if you strike out like that? Like I've been saying, like he's kind of like a Kyle Schwarber type, where you're going to see the strikeouts, but he's going to hit the crap out of the ball. And unlike Schwarber, he can play defense, and he can play it very well. So his start before he was put on the IL the other day, the start he was having to the season, he changed his stance up a little bit, even more different than what it was in the spring. And it's been working. He's making better contact. He's hitting for power. He's driving in runs. He's still stealing bases. He's playing excellent defense. I think at some point he's going to be in AAA, and he's older than Lombard. And we know the stuff is there. We saw it in the spring the last couple of years. I think the Yankees view him as their center fielder. They've kept him out of trades. They don't want to move him. He's untouchable in their mind, basically. So it could be as soon as, if injuries occur, he could be up at some point later this year. I don't want to say that for sure, but I mean, he's another guy that as soon as next season, you could be looking at him as a starter on this team if everything keeps going the way it is, of course, because his start to the AA season was great. He's hitting the crap out of the ball. So that's what you want to see. And he needs to kind of rebuild his stock, because he did fall a little bit in the rankings. He was our top guy, and he dropped a little bit, and Lombard took over that top spot. So if he gets going again, the Yankees can have 2 top 100 bats. That's going to help the farm system all together. Spencer Jones is a very important prospect in this system. Very important.
Yeah, because his defense in center field, man, is phenomenal. The guy he can run, he could hit, he could field. I mean, it seems like he could do it all. I feel like if the roster, when they expand the rosters here in September, and I know we're 4 or 5 months away from that. I know we're a little ways away. I could see a scenario where they call him up, if they expand the roster. And I view him as a guy that could be taking over center field next year. That outfield is going to be pretty interesting. Especially with Spencer Jones and the fact, once again, Hal not trying to cut down on the payroll. I don't think they're going to go after a guy like Kyle Tucker. They'll do their due diligence and check in on him, but I don't think they're going to spend. They're going to want to spend that money. It's not that they can't. It's just I don't think they will want to, especially if Jones keeps progressing the way he is. I know he's hurt right now, but I see a scenario where he's on the major league roster come next season if everything goes according to plan, and they don't have to go out and spend that money, because it's like, yeah, they could go out and get Kyle Tucker, but then they're just like, nah, well, we got Spencer Jones. And like you said, there's a reason why they didn't trade him. They kept him out of trades, and he's viewed as an untouchable, just like George Lombard Jr. So there is a scenario about where these two guys could get called up. Spencer Jones, first and foremost, I think he will be called up. Lombard Jr. is a question mark, but here you have two potentials. One for I think is a for sure. And what's up there, Joel? How's it going? But we got Max in the building. What up, Max? How's it going there, buddy? What's going on, bro? But Spencer Jones, I think, is a guy that I think is coming up. I think he'll be in the major league roster next year. I just don't like this. Once again, Hal doesn't want to spend money. He's trying to cut down on payroll. That's why I don't think they go after a guy like Tucker, because they already got Jones. So what are your thoughts, man?
I mean, I always will, as much as I like prospects and I would like to see the Yankees build a core, it's always better to go for the sure thing. Kyle Tucker is an elite hitter. He's an elite fielder.
Agreed.
If you can get him, you get him, and then you can maybe use Spencer Jones to add in other positions of need. That's how a team like the Yankees can operate. Sometimes they should operate that way. But like Doran's saying, if they don't feel comfortable spending the money for him that he might command on the open market, which, considering what Soto got paid, he's not on the same level as Soto, but he's still very good.
He's a better fielder than Soto is about the only thing I could say about Tucker. He could hit, he could field. I mean, the guy
his bat in the Bronx would be ridiculous. So you're looking at a guy that's going to want a lot of money for obvious reasons. He's very good. If the Yankees don't want to spend that and they feel like Spencer Jones can provide good enough numbers for a hell of a lot cheaper, that's something that a lot of fans have been asking the Yankees to do. I wouldn't be too upset about it, but obviously I still want to win now, and Kyle Tucker is a win now move where Spencer Jones would be part of like, okay, well, we can still hopefully get good production, but you're going to have to, you got to maximize the Aaron Judge window, the Garrett Cole window, the Rodon window, even the Max Fried window, because he's not getting any younger. I know he's only like 30, but
still
they got to try to like win as soon as they can, at least get one. Hal said it himself, or I think it was Cashman or Hal that said if they don't get a championship for Cole or Judge, it's a complete disappointment. So ideally, the kids play well enough, and we've got a core of younger players to help the veterans like Judge and Cole, and we can go win a couple of championships. That's how it was done in the 90s, but it doesn't always work perfectly. So in my mind, if you can go get the sure bat, you go get the sure bat. But if you're outspent by some other team and there's really nothing you can do, at least you know that Spencer Jones is there, a guy that has 30 home run potential, can steal 40 plus bags. He's a 30-30 type of player, maybe even higher. I don't want to go too far. I'm like, oh, he'll do 50-50 like Ohtani did, but he's a guy that can hit 30 home runs, especially in Yankee Stadium. He can certainly steal 30 bags. He can play Gold Glove defense. I mean, that's the kind of prospect you want in your system. So far, before this injury, he was showing all of that in a short stint in Double-A, at least early on in the season. 9 homers is nothing to scoff at. Getting on base, even with the strikeouts. So maybe the strikeout rate doesn't matter as much as we thought it would. He just needs to get healthy again and keep hitting the way he was, and he's got a bright future. It's just in terms of like, do you go with the prospect or do you go and sign the sure thing? If you can get the sure thing, in my mind, you go and get the sure thing. But it's always nice to have a prospect that's like, okay, well, if we don't get him, we still have Spencer Jones. Kind of like if we don't bring back Soto, we still had Dominguez to take over as in one of the outfield spots, and you switch Judge over and things like that. So it's kind of like a contingency plan in case you can't get the sure bat. But I do think the Yankees are high enough on Jones where even if Bellinger opts in, which he probably will, they can always put him at first next year. And Jones will have a spot in center field. That's the beauty of Cody Bellinger, can play all over the place in the outfield and play first base. You can utilize that and still get Spencer Jones playing time. So I think it kind of works out. If he keeps up like this, similar to Lombard, it's hard to see a scenario where he's not starting in center field next year.
Right. Yeah. Once again, it's like the Yankees are in such an interesting position. So it's like, yes, they are a win now organization, but at the same time, they want to develop young, they want to bring up the young guys, which, I'm all for it. I mean, your whole entire team is not going to be full of young guys. I mean, it's going to be a mix, right? And you always want that on a team, I think, right? Some people might feel different, but, again, this is where, if we're talking about the Yankees, they're trying to, do they want to win now and go for the sure thing, like you said, or should they go for, what they have right now and feeling confident about who they have right now and just play those guys, I know, you know how the fans are, man, how us fans are sometimes, because we're just like, play the young guys. And then it's just like, oh, well, they should have signed this guy instead of bringing up this guy. It's like, hey, man, like, there's got to be a balance, and you got to figure out what it is you want. Because with these with the young players, once again, you got to let them develop. You have to let them go through their growing pains, because they're not gonna be hitting. Well, as far as if we're talking bats, they're not going to be hitting 350 with 35, 40 home runs. Like these guys are going to struggle a little bit, right? I mean. But you live and learn. I mean, that you live and learn, especially at the major league level. You're going to figure out what works and what doesn't. So that first year is always a growing pain, and you hope like year 2, year 3, you turn it up. So what was
for
that?
A team like the Yankees? Yeah. They were just in the World Series.
Yeah,
they were in the ALCS 2 years before that. 2024, they were 2022, they were in the World Series. They were not in the World Series, the ALCS, 24 World Series, 22 ALCS. They were contenders every single year except for 23. They got close. The expectation is to win. If they were a team that was like on the rise, if they were like a Pittsburgh Pirates type of team, like where they're building a young core, and then you want to see those guys all come up at the same time, or even a team that's going to finish around 500, but they're just kind of waiting for those guys to take off. Like the Nationals, a lot of their young core is starting to really get going. It's a different story. Then it's like, okay, you can go through that. But for the Yankees, they're expected to win. You have the best player in baseball. You have to maximize that while he's still playing at this level.
Yeah.
So I can see why fans would be like, no, don't rely on the prospects. Go sign the best player you can. Right. Go spend the money. You're the New York Yankees. I understand that completely. So I just think as a prospect fan, I want to see it. And I want to see Spencer Jones and George Lombard. I want to see guys like Ben Hess and Carlos Legrand put their stamp on the rotation in the next few years and be a part of this team moving forward. I know it doesn't work that way, though. Not every single prospect works. So
right.
When you're a team like the Yankees that have the pockets you should spend. But you also know that it's not easier, but it can definitely help you to spend less if you have a prospect come up and they're good, to give him a shot. So with a guy like Spencer Jones, it's kind of easier for a bat to come up and be really good. It might sound crazy when he had the pop that he does. He doesn't need to hit 380. He doesn't even need to hit like 280. If he's like a 250 hitter at the major league level and he's hitting 30 home runs a year and stealing 30 plus bags and playing Gold Glove defense, you're not going to scoff at that at all.
Yeah, no.
But those are difficult expectations to put on any sort of prospect. But when he's basically considered untouchable, you need to see them produce. It's such a weird thing when you talk about a team like the Yankees, because that's how the 90s were built through the system. But we can't forget that there were a lot of veterans, expensive veterans, that came in and made that team very good as well. It wasn't all Jeter and Posada and Pettit and Mo. They were a huge part of it, of course. Bernie Williams as well. But it was the guys like David Wells and David Cohn and Clemens, Mike Stanton, Jeff Nelson. Like, I can go on and talk about the 90s. It was a complete and utter mix. So you're near the Yankees, you can do that. But that's basically a long point I'm trying to make, is the expectations for the Yankees is always to win and have a team that's capable of winning every single year. They can't really afford to let's go through a mini rebuild for like a year or two, because you're the Yankees. You should never be like, we're going to try to not spend as much. It's the richest franchise in the sport. Of course, people would have wanted you to spend money.
Yeah, but I mean, and then once again, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole, but times are different now when it comes to acquiring players. When you're, used to be, I mean, everybody keeps talking about the George days, and George used to spend, but there also wasn't all these luxury tax penalties, and there wasn't all these, any of that stuff going on during George's time either, where, George didn't have to worry about paying a tax every year for being over a certain threshold. This year, these times it's a lot different. And right now, like, Hal is operating under a different environment. And, it's not just like being the payroll. It's also, they're also, again, not to go down the rabbit hole here, but they're, still paying off the stadium. They're still paying off and buying back the Yes Network. The team has like a lot, ton of expenses. I mean, I understand a lot of baseball teams do, but the Yankees expenses is like insane. And the taxes that they pay every year, they paid some of the highest taxes every single year. And, it always goes to these smaller market teams, and the owners don't spend on their teams. And that's where the frustration boils. So, I mean, I do understand where fans are coming from, of like, hey, you're the New York Yankees, you should spend money. But we're not involved at that type of level. And hell, I don't think I ever want to be involved at that type of level, because that is a stressful job. And I'm okay being a content creator. So, and being a fan and building a channel, you know what I mean? But you get where I'm going. You get where I'm coming from with this though. Right. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We
But,
don't know the inner workings of, we know they have a lot of money.
mm-hmm.
They can spend it. They probably should be spending more than they are, but I also don't think they have to be spending $400 million. But like I said,
Mm-hmm.
you don't find Kyle Tuckers every day of the week.
You don't. And like I said, I think my prediction, and I could very well be wrong on this, I think they're going to do their due diligence, check in on him, see what's up. But I think ultimately they're going to stick with Spencer Jones. Now, listen, if they go and sign Kyle Tucker, you're not going to hear me complain. You will not hear me complain. I like Kyle Tucker. If they end up getting him, cool. I'll be jumping up for joy. If not, they want to stick with Jones, great. Like, I'm happy for that. But if they get Tucker, once again, you're not going to hear me complain. I'm going to be like, sweet. They got Kyle Tucker. Now that outfield's going to be even better. The defense is going to be freaking stellar out there. I can't wait to see Kyle Tucker if the Yankees end up signing him, you know. But real quick, folks, just a small timeout here. I do appreciate everybody tuning in. Thank you all, and I appreciate Rob tuning in as well. Just talking Yankee prospects. We're almost an hour into the show, so you know we'll get into a few other players because we talked about the bats. There's a few pitchers that I do want to talk about. I know Ken asked you a question specifically, so we'll start with him first. But make sure you guys all hit that like button, hit the subscribe, share this channel out with everybody you know. Make sure you subscribe to the Pinstripe Chronicles podcast. You know, Rob does an awesome job over there with Uncle Tats and Donald. They go live Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 10. So be sure to check them out. And I know they do other, you know, the channel does other shows too. They do Sundays with the girls at the upper deck with Lynn and Sierra. And then, you know, Saturdays, I know once in a while, Donald will do his Yankified podcast. So, you know, those guys stay busy over there. So go check them out, subscribe to their channel, give them the support. Like I said, give them the support that you all give me. I know I definitely would appreciate it. I know Rob and his team would appreciate it too. So I thank you for that. But getting to a few pitchers, because there's a few pitchers that I wanted to talk about, but Ken wanted to specifically ask you here, because I did start the comment. He wanted to get your thoughts about Zach Messenger. I know he's been a name that's been talked about. What are your thoughts on him? What are you seeing in Zach Messenger?
A lot of strikeouts that he can have. I think this year he's finally in AAA, but he's struggling a little bit. He's a guy that there was a lot of AA arms that I was looking at this year as potential call-ups. Chase Hampton was one of them before he got hurt. To see Messenger get into, yeah, Russ, I do. It's at Rob_B5199.
Yeah. And by the way, just so you know, Chasing Dreams in the Philippines, that's Gusto. I'm sure you're familiar with him.
Gusto changed his name. What, you running? What's the matter?
I had to bring that up. I'm sorry.
Good to see you, Gusto. But no, I do like Messenger. I was hoping that he would obviously have a better start, but it's still, again, very, very early for him. Mm-hmm. He's a guy that if he does pick up the pace a little bit and get himself going, could be in line to make a spot start or two. Here again, we never know what's going on with this rotation this year. The Yankees are very limited in the arms they have to call up currently. They still need a fifth starter as of right now. I think Messenger is a guy that, with more time, could eventually put his name into the hat as potential options. I really like his stuff. So he was one of the guys I was looking at going into the season. We were talking about different guys in the spring, and I was very high on Messenger. I just think he needs a little bit more of a sample size in AAA, but I'm glad that he's there, and I'm glad that the Yankees have kept him because he's got good stuff. He's got strikeout stuff, and they need as many arms as they can right now at the higher levels. Because there will be injuries. Again, the fifth starter will more than likely be either Yarborough or they call up Winans, who is far deserving of it right now. He has like an ERA of 0 in Scranton. So obviously,
I hear Winning. I've heard a lot of good things about Winnings, man. I hear
he had a good spring. I thought he would have made the team, but obviously they went with Carrasco, who's been DFA'd. They're going to need a 5th starter eventually, not for this series, I believe. They're going with, I think Rodon is going the 3rd game.
Rodon is pitching to this afternoon.
He's going today. Okay.
JP Sears, another former Yankee. So it'll be those guys tomorrow. It said that it was to be determined for the Yankees. Severino's pitching tomorrow for the A's. Who's pitching tomorrow for the Yankees? I don't know, but it could be
Winnings, because Winnings was scheduled to pitch, I think, on Tuesday in Scranton.
Okay.
So they might call him up.
So call the fresh arm.
Yeah, and maybe because that's what I thought they were going to do when they called up De Los Santos, who pitched yesterday. So maybe that's what their plan is going to be, to get Winnings up. I think he's been deserving of it. But Messenger's a guy that I think with more time could also be in that category of a name that gets considered when they inevitably need an arm at some point down the road. I really like his stuff.
Yeah, no, I've heard some good things about, seen some stuff about with Messenger, man. I'm like, this guy has, he's got some potential as well. Once again, another name. There's also, now listen, I feel like it's too early, but there's been people jumping on the Cam Schlittler train, which I'm not taking anything away from Cam Schlittler. The reason why I'm saying the Cam Schlittler train is because there's fans saying, oh, they should call him up. I'm like, let's pump the brakes on that. I think he has good stuff. He has potential, from what I saw in spring training, just from the eye test. The guy has stuff. He could pitch, but I feel like there's still a lot of things that he still needs to work on. He's still a work in progress, in my opinion. And I don't know where some fans were saying, hey, they need to call this guy up. But I think it's way too early to even consider that. But what are your thoughts on Cam Schlittler? Like, do you like him as much as you do Zach Messenger, or how do you feel about him?
He's one of my favorite pitching prospects at this point. It was Brock Selvage, but he's still working his way back. Schlittler, Tats can't get his name right, but Schlittler, I love him.
Umaga Imanaga.
Tomato. He's only had 33 innings this year. So it's still very early in the process. But so far, the numbers are very good. He's got an ERA low 2s. He's striking out I think about 10 per 9 strikeout rate. He's only had 33 innings, but he struck out about 36 batters. He's not walking too many guys. The whip is lower. Good strikeout to walk ratio. I mean, everything that you want to see in the early stages for an arm like him, he's passed the test. It's still very early, though. Right. If we get to, let's say, this point next month and he's still got numbers like this, you might think about fast tracking him to AAA, and then if they need an arm, they can go that route. And Doran's bringing up a good point, because you got to keep him. You need to add it to the 40-man. You don't want to lose him in the Rule 5. He's a guy that you will lose, because the stuff is there. We saw it in the spring. We saw the flashes of it. And so far in AA, he's killing it. So I think at some point you're going to see him in AAA. It's still very early, though. Call him up right now? Absolutely not.
That's so.
But sooner than later for a guy like Schlittler, because he was a high draft pick for them a few years ago, dealt with some injuries, as most of our pitching prospects do. But he's come back and he's been very good. And he's a guy that a lot of scouts are starting to finally recognize, and one of these many arms that the Yankees have in the system that could be fast risers in their own farm system and potentially top 100 guys. He's been great. I mean, again, early signs, early returns on his season so far, very good. We'll see where that leads him to. But as for a call-up right now, no, you're right. It's still far too early.
That's what I thought, man, because I was just like, so few people were saying that. I was just like, he's got good stuff, but I still think there's things that he needs to develop, in my opinion, right? Again, just from the eye test. But I was just like, nah, that's way too early to call him up, because you don't want to call him up, and then if he doesn't perform well, then yeah, you're all going to be disappointed. Once again, your patience, which a lot of fans don't have, and that's not like a disrespect or anything, because I understand where fans are coming from. It's like you want these guys to develop, you want these guys to come up and play and have success and help this team. But I think Schlittler. I think Schlittler's great. I like Cam Schlittler, but he still needs to develop down there in the minors. I know he's killing it down there, but let him continue doing his thing, and then we'll talk about him in the future about being on the major league roster. And then last but not least, man, Ben Hess. That guy's been turning some heads, right? I mean, I know his recent outing, he looked really good. What do you got on Ben Hess, man? Is he another guy on your prospect list that's like, man, I really like this guy. I like what I'm seeing from him.
The Yankees draft class last year were all guys that had like the college arms with high ERAs. And everyone's like, who is this guy? Why are they drafting all these people with ERAs in the 5s and the 6s? What are we doing? But since they've come into the Yankee system, Ben Hess, I see Dorn's bringing up Herring is another one. Cunningham, I think Ken brought up Cunningham earlier. Quickly, Cunningham's got like a low 2 ERA as well. He's in high A. But Ben Hess has struck out, I think, like close to 40 batters already this season. And he's not even touched 30 innings yet. So I like Ben Hess a lot. We saw him a little bit in the I think he pitched in the breakout game this spring. And he's a guy that will shoot up quickly into the system. These are all guys that are in high A currently. Double A is probably not too far away for them. They're all off to really good starts, and they're all around like 22, 21, 22. So none of them are like babies, essentially. They're all college arms, so they will fast track through the system, and they all got plus stuff. I really like Ben Hess. The strikeout stuff is there. Is he going to be a starter or a reliever at the major league level? That's another question, but the strikeout stuff.
What do you see him as? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but what do you see him as?
And as of right now, it's hard to say. I mean, I'm sure they're going to want to use him as a starter. Mm-hmm. And if he fast tracks and with the current staff being what it is, and he won't be ready this year, but let's say next year you have a healthy Cole, you have a healthy Heel, Fried, you still have Rodon, you have Schmidt, you have Warren. He might be a bullpen guy. A lot of these guys will be multi-inning bullpen arms. At least some of them might be. But with a guy that has the strikeout stuff that Ben Hess does, you kind of want to see that be a starter before anything else. But think about Dellin Betances. I almost confused his letters there. Dellin Betances came up as a starter, but was an elite reliever. I'm not going to put that on Hess immediately because I still want to see what he can do as a starter. But I think ultimately, if the Yankees have some arms come up before Ben Hess, and they currently have a lot of guys already under contract, a reliever at this stage, at least as of now.
Okay. Sorry, you like froze up for a minute. I don't know what happened.
Did I?
On my end, you did. It might have been StreamYard. Who knows? But what was that last thing you said? I apologize.
I was saying, as of right now, probably like a multi-inning reliever, but
okay.
I do think that he can be a very good starting pitcher. It's just because of all the guys the Yankees have currently under contract over the next few years. And like Schmidt's still under contract for another 2 years, I think. And you have Heel, obviously, in his rookie deal. So there's kind of like the infielders, really not enough spots. But he's a guy that could be a very, very good relief pitcher if he does get called up.
Yeah, because Yankees drafted a lot of pitchers in that draft last year. There was
because they trade a lot. They do trade a lot.
They do, yeah. They do trade a lot. So they built up their pitching, which, I mean, is never a bad thing. I mean, you can never have too much pitching, as we all know. But yeah, I like what I'm seeing from Ben Hess, and I viewed Ben Hess as like a starter, not so much as a reliever, but that could always change. So, you never know what direction the Yankees are going to go in as far as, when it comes to their guys. But before we close out here, was there any other prospects that we didn't talk about? I know we talked about several names. Any prospects that is sticking out to you that we didn't talk about, or a name that we may have not heard of? Like, is there anybody that's like, whoa, like, this guy's caught my attention? Like, any names out there for you?
Well, there's a couple. Elmer Rodriguez Cruz, who we got for Carlos Narvaez this offseason. I really like him. He's off to a good start. 2.25 ERA, 35 strikeouts in just 28 innings. He's a guy that I don't know why we traded Narvaez, but so far, ERC, we'll just use his initials. So far, he's off to a really fast start.
Okay.
Carlos Lagrange is throwing 99, 100 miles an hour. He's got an ERA like mid-threes. He's coming off a really strong start. 41 strikeouts in just 25 innings. He pitched in the spring breakout game. He was electric. I am very excited about Carlos Lagrange. I love his stuff. Yeah.
I've seen Lagrange, and I have heard you talk about him. I've heard some of the other folks in the Yankees world prospect watch talk about this guy. I hear Lagrange, there is like a very high ceiling for this guy, and I can see why. And from like what you just described, man, I'm like, and he's, correct me if I'm wrong, he's a left-handed pitcher, yeah?
He's a righty.
He's right-handed, okay. I was probably thinking of somebody else, but
probably thinking of Lalane.
That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, Lagrange, yeah.
Lalane's a lefty, but he's hurt, or he's working his way back. And Lagrange, who the Yankees are high on, because again, they wouldn't have started him in the breakout game if they weren't. He's electric, and he's putting it all together. The command was a bit of a concern. I don't want to say too much of a concern, but he's putting it together so far, man. Like, again, 41 strikeouts in just 25 innings is nothing to scoff at. I know it's A ball, but there's a lot of arms in this system to be excited about, guys. The New York Yankees farm system could quickly put itself from being in the bottom third of the league to top 15, top 10 again, if some of these arms continue at the track that they are in. I mean, we're not even talking about guys like Reiselman in AAA, who's putting together really good numbers. Guys like Kyle Carr. There's a lot of different names out there that have pitched really well in the high A to AA level, that even if, and I wish some of these guys were healthy, guys like Selvage, Chase Hampton, a lot of these arms, Ben Shields, that if they were pitching more often and healthy, the system would be even better. And these are guys that could all have made an impact for the Yankees this year. So there's a lot of arms in this system that are healthy and injured to keep your eye on for the next season, for this season and moving forward. They have a lot of, whether that be starters for the rotation or the bullpen, or trade chips, ammo to go get pieces they need now to help out the offense and improve the team in the offseason or at the deadline. They have a lot of them. They've done a very good job finding arms in the draft. I'll tell you that much. And there's a lot of players to be excited about, but I think Lagrange might be the one that you really want to keep your eye on moving forward. That his stuff, I talked about Hess being really good. Lagrange's fastball is unbelievable. He's triple digits at like 20, 21 years old. It's filthy. He's filthy. And I think that the Yankees are very high on him for good reason. So keep your eye out for Lagrange.
Yeah, Lagrange, like I said, I prior to me watching him, I have heard his name in over the last year. Since last year, I've been hearing this guy's name a lot, and I now I understand why. I see why, and just from what you described about him and the stats so far, he has a lot of upside. He's a guy. He gets talked about, but not as much as like some of the guys that we talked about today. But I know he's like, but he's up there. He's definitely up there. I can't wait to see what he does. Lalane too. I mean, just like Brad said, it's too bad Lalane can't stay healthy. That's the problem with Lalane, right? But I think Lalane is another guy. I've seen him pitch, and he's got some stuff on him as well. So. But yeah, Yankees pitching. I mean, that Yankees, that's like their bread and butter is pitching. Finding really, really good pitching. That's always been their bread and butter. And clearly in the draft, I mean, they, like you said, they trade away a lot of guys, but they drafted so many pitchers. I'm just like, man, there's so many guys that they have drafted. I'm like, they're not going to keep all of them, granted, but I'm excited to see what these guys are going to bring to the table, man. But any other names you want to talk about, or anything else you want to say? Anything else you want to add?
I mean, we're seeing a couple of familiar names, guys like TJ Rumfield. He's off to a good start. Everson Pereira, I don't want to forget about him. He's finally healthy, and he's having himself a really strong season so far in Scranton. Had the Yankees needed another bat, he could certainly be an option at some point this year. Jesus Rodriguez made the jump to AAA, and so far he's hitting the ball very well. He can play all over the place. He can catch. He can play second. He can play third. He can probably play the outfield if they needed him to. I think he can play shortstop. He's a super utility guy. Keep a lookout for him. And Rafael Flores, first baseman catcher out there in AA. He's already got 6 homers, 23 ribbies on the season. So there's some names to be excited about on the offensive side as well. And it's just the obvious ones are Lombard and Jones. But you look at some of these other guys. I think Rafael Flores is 24, so he could be a guy that moves up quickly sooner than later if they needed a first base option. And Jesus Rodriguez could be a guy that they really look at as super utility off the bench. They can put him anywhere, and he can hit. He's hit at every level, so he's on the 40-man, so keep an eye out for him as well.
Cool. Yeah, a lot of names. I mean, a lot of names. I know next time I'll get you on. We'll talk about some other names that we didn't get to really talk about today. But the catchers, I think that's something I want to get into next time, because the catcher situation is very, very interesting in my opinion. And I don't know. I feel like that's a conversation for a different stream, but I feel like the catching is still in a way kind of uncertain. I feel like there's still some question marks there, but again, that's a conversation for a different stream. But before we let you all go, let me pull up the Yankees lineup real quick, because the lineup is out. I don't know if you saw it there, Rob.
I know Jake's bringing up Volpe batting 5th, and I believe my favorite player on the team is starting at second base today.
Let me zoom in.
There he is in all his glory, Pablo fucking Reyes. He's
the best player on the team, man. Come on.
Best player in baseball, as far as I'm concerned. That OPS under 350. I mean, what is he? What is his OPS, like 3 something now?
I'd have to look at his stats, but it's not great. But Reyes is not like a long-term player. I think he's just seeing the field right now because Jazz is hurt, so you gotta play him. I'm not, I know it's not in favor. We're not in favor of this, but you're not going to see Vivas play every day. Although Vivas is going to get playing time, and and Peraza is not going to play every day. I mean, you got to let these guys are going to see the field ultimately, but Reyes is not part of a long term. He's just I still say he gets cut at some point.
Oh, LeMahieu will be back soon, and it's to a point where I'd rather see DJ LeMahieu. That's how bad Pablo Reyes has been. Like, I didn't think it'd be possible for someone to make me want to see DJ LeMahieu, but Pablo Reyes has been so bad both sides of the ball that I would rather it be DJ out there, and I'm like mad at myself for even having to say that, but that's how bad Reyes has been. There's zero reason for him to be starting today, by the way.
I'm surprised he's even in the lineup, honestly, but this is your lineup right here, folks. They're going up against JP Sears, who I believe is also a left-handed pitcher for the Oakland A's, former New York Yankees. So Yankees are going up against a few former players on their team. So, I mean, the lineup, just at a quick glance, at this point, anytime I see the lineup, I'm like, it is what it is. I would have done things a little bit differently. Like Volpe, I wouldn't have him bat 5th. Bellinger, I wouldn't have him bat 4th, but that's just my opinion. I put Dominguez up there at the 5th spot, and then I don't know who you would put at the 4th spot. I understand why Paul Goldschmidt is leading off. I do get that, but the lineup is as good as it can get, I guess. But there's a couple of the guys I would change up. Your thoughts on the lineup, real quick?
Yeah, I don't know how you reward a player for hitting 3 home runs by batting him ahead of just one spot ahead of Pablo Reyes. But
yeah.
I mean, Bellinger should either be back. I think cleanup's fine for him. Although I did like, even though he didn't have a great stat line, the one time he led off, he was actually swinging the bat pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just switch Volpe and Dominguez, and I think that's fine.
Okay.
So you take Reyes out of the lineup, but
yeah.
Other than that, I think it's pretty much what you would expect. The lineup's changing every single day, and especially against the lefties, they love Goldschmidt leading off for obvious reasons. He hits lefties well, so I think it's fine. I would just switch Dominguez and Volpe.
100%. And in fairness, yes, I will be tuning into the fights later. For anybody who's anybody who knows, I am a big UFC fan. Besides baseball, I love my combat sports. There's a big event coming up tonight, so I don't know if I know a few of you are fight fans, but the main event's going to be, it'll be interesting. But I still say I will. In fairness, I'll say that Bilal Muhammad will retain the title. I think it'll go to decision. That's what I think. And then as far as the co-main event, you got Valentina Shevchenko versus Manon Fiorot, the French fighter. I don't know why, but I feel like I think Shevchenko will win, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Fiorot, hopefully I'm saying her name right, she could potentially surprise us. She's got some range on her. So, but that's my take in fairness, just to give you a little UFC prediction here. So, WWE Backlash is tonight. Is that correct?
It certainly is. Randy Orton versus John Cena for the 100th time, and this might be the most I've ever been excited for it. The last time ever.
I can tell the excitement on your face. What's up there, Texas Buckeye? I appreciate you tuning in. What's Gusto asking me here? Can you walk me through getting that streaming link you sent me set up? What streaming link? I'll text you here after the show, man. But appreciate you. But I always appreciate you there, Gusto. You didn't have to kick anybody out today, so that's always a good day when you don't have to do that. And Rob is protected, so it's perfect. But folks in the chat, I am gonna end it here because I am gonna go live for the play-by-play. So hopefully I get to watch the UFC fights. Okay. I'll text you after there, bro. But I got you, dude. So, but I do appreciate everybody tuning in, Rob, bro. Like, it's always a pleasure having you on here and talking Yankee prospects, man. I've been wanting to get you on to talk some prospects because there was definitely names that that's been like on my brain, on my mind. And, I know you watch these guys. So I've been keeping a closer eye on them as well, because I haven't really been this excited about prospects in a while. So in the past, I wasn't focused as much, but I still don't focus on it as much as you do. But I've been paying a little bit more attention. But you're still my guy to go to when it comes to this stuff. So I do appreciate you coming on and just kind of sharing what your knowledge and your thoughts and your opinion of what you're seeing with your eye. At any time, man. And hopefully it's just some exciting times here in Yankee baseball and in the future of the New York Yankees. So, but folks in the chat, thank you for coming on. Greatly appreciate all you guys and gals. Make sure you all hit that like button on the way out. If you're watching this on the rerun, hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. If you're new to the channel, you're watching this, join in on the conversation. Share this channel out with everybody you know. Make sure you guys subscribe to the Pinstripe Chronicles podcast. Rob and the team over there they do some great work. So tune into that to the guys and gals that do their shows. They do a good job. Go give them the support. Support all your local content creators. There's work behind the scenes, which is sometimes it's not easy to do. And this is anybody who does content creating. It's fun. But it has its like ups and downs. It could be rewarding. It could be stressful, but it's for the most part, man. At least for me, I have a lot of fun doing this stuff, and it's just great interacting with all the subscribers. So, Doran, we'll talk food next time. We'll do that. We'll hopefully do that tomorrow if hopefully I can do a pregame. But I know it's Mother's Day weekend, so for all you moms out there, you all rock. So for me, as far as my mother goes, she's amazing. But every day is Mother's Day for me. That's the way I see it. And also, I know they say that May. I just wanted to say this. I know they say that May is Mental Health Awareness Month. When it comes to that, that's an everyday thing for me, as far as mental health awareness, because that's something that people go through every day. So for folks that are out there, if you're experiencing something, mentally, like if you're going through stuff, reach out. Whether it's me or just reach out to the people around you. Utilize your resources. There's a lot of resources out there for you to reach out to. Don't feel like you're all alone in this. I know life could be a little rough, but just know that we're all here. So just to throw it out there. And yes, the Knicks do play soon. So I know you're not a Knicks fan. But I'm a Knicks fan. I hope they go out and go 3-0. So I will say, let's go Knicks. But tune into the Knicks, tune into the Yankees, tune into the fights tonight if you're a fight fan. But until then, folks, thank you all for coming on, and I will see you all very soon. I'm NFE. This is Rob, and we're out. Let's go Yankees.
Go Yanks.
Let's go.